conversations going back and forth, so I think we were gonna wait to see where we were at as far as, the assistance and what road we were taking to get assistance from the township with regards to the ROD grants that we're getting and the monies that we needed. So I thought we put it a little bit on hold, but I also thought that we were gonna make one letter and make it more generic.
Right.
That's what we said, and I think we wanted to tweak the last three sentences, but as far as sending it out yet, and I don't know if Ms. Kirby's on or not, no, but that was the conversation, and I actually, pre-met with, Mr. Moraldo earlier, and I wanted to confirm that I was on the same page.
Yep, and if you may remember, the original letter that we had drafted was more targeted towards Senator.
Right.
We had decided that we wanted to make it more applicable
Right.
to multiple, stakeholders or political advocates. And the other thing that we had discussed potentially doing was offering templates for members of the community to download and pull down and
Right.
and even take and understanding that everyone has their own individual stake in the functioning of the school district, have the opportunity to use it as a foundation for any concerns that they may have.
So I think for the next meeting, if you'd like, we could prepare the letter.
Yep.
And then I guess whatever the decision is about posting it, providing it, so forth, and maybe we'll have a better idea of where we're at with the townships.
Yeah, a lot of the letter discussed some of the potential, some of the things that the ROD grants could
Potentially,
help us
if we were able
resolve. So
to
that's
meet
why
the
I think we
additional
wanted to
funds.
maybe-
So I think just, having written the original draft, and like this sort of like goes into that, one of my concerns was by putting, figures, like specific numbers in there, those are things that are always gonna change, like even if, and it's great that we're getting potential assistance, but, even if we weren't, like the cost of certain projects could change or the needs could change. And so like, obviously there's certain things that are always gonna remain the same, but I also know that like, I guess the original sentiment of it was like that funding formula, which, is something that isn't changing, sadly, which needs to change. And, it's something that really, I think would, because ultimately if we're putting this on our district website for people to send out, we want something that's not necessarily going to be as fluid, I feel. So I certainly think we could put in there like infrastructure needs and list a couple of them in bullet form, not necessarily make that the primary focus and focus more on the funding.
Yeah,
I agree, because I think we've been talking about this too long, and we've got to move on it. We can't keep talking about something and people are going to say, well, when are they going to do it? We've got to get this out. And I like your idea because it is about the funding. Okay, we are listing what we need here, but generally it's about the bad issue of funding across the state, but Monroe's going to do something about it. And would you please, it's kind of like, would you please help us by sending this to the constituents that you're voting for coming in? And we got to get it out.
we could do multiple versions of letter, or multiple letters, and where we could have, like, if we were to allocate, and I'm just thinking about this now, so bear with me. If we were to have a portion of our website that was just dedicated to advocacy, where residents that were interested in speaking up on our behalf could go there and pull facts, but also maybe templates of letters. One could be targeted more towards the immediate needs and must-haves, which are some of the remediation projects that we're currently discussing at present. And then one could be more of like a larger, bigger picture discussion of the flaws in the funding formula, which could be used to attract maybe some partners in advocacy.
And,
You could do both.
right, that's what I'm saying. We've got to do something. We just can't be sitting here every month saying,
So what
we're
about,
going to send the letters. And I did speak to the head of the senior center, Nancy, and she will, when we get it, she will send it out on the email blast to all the seniors that belong to our senior center. Okay, and that's quite a few people. So we've got it in there. I was told I was overstepping my bounds, but I overstepped just for us to make sure that we get it out, and we can get it out over that and all the other adult, active adult communities.
my thought with that, and like, I know, I've looked at a few other districts' websites to sort of see what they have, like, I know Field Regional has like a page about advocating, and I think South Brunswick might have something as well. I guess my concern with having multiple letters might, and I think we brought this up briefly last week, there might be some confusion, but maybe what we can do is list the facts on that
Mhm.
like website, sort of like what you were mentioning with the template, and then, you know, it has like the, like, so basically the stuff that everybody would, that would be applicable for, right? Because everyone is, you know, going to be affected by fair funding, right? Because the students are affected because they're not necessarily getting what they
Right.
deserve. We're affected as taxpayers. So have the stuff that like everybody would be affected by, and then maybe also be like, please feel free to include any of these topics in there, and then sort of list like the things that you had mentioned, because those are needs as well, and that way you can customize it a bit, but then it still has that like overall concern of funding, which is,
Right.
you know, I mean, that's been going on since before I lived in town.
You can tie it all in together too, right? You can say because of the lack of funding,
Right.
you know, this is the position that we're in, and then, you know, kind of put it all
Right,
in
because
one.
we've had to drain our, oh my God, what's it called? I'm drawing a blank, like the money reserves,
Mhm.
Right.
right? So we're not able to put as much towards capital needs as maybe we'd like. And that's because we've had to use that money for funding our, you know, our education, because obviously we want to make sure that students are, and they are getting like the education that they deserve. But it's sort of, it ties it all together, like you said.
Why don't you just go ahead and send the two letters to Ms. Daviano and rest of the committee, as well as Ms. Skirby as president.
Okay.
And whatever they want done, you could just upload.
Yep, and I'll, in the meantime, I can take a look at how some of those other districts have provided information and advocacy via the website. We're in the process of evaluating, our digital presence as a whole. And so that might be a nice opportunity to maybe carve out some space.
This way it'll get done.
Yeah, we've got to move on this. We've been talking about it too much.
Well, one thing that will be nice now is by the time it's approved, we won't have to review the contacts for the state, because the election likely would have occurred, so we'll have the proper contacts on there, because I know like right now, our website has, I think it's the prior legislator, so we'll have like the updated ones,
Right.
and maybe we can also include a link to like the state website, just in case something.
Yeah, so just wait
changes,
after
like,
the
please make
election to
sure,
see who's there and who to include,
Right.
and just get it out.
welcome, you know, if somebody new, welcome to your position, you know, or someone, oh, welcome back to your position, here's Monroe.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's our issues. Can you help us? You know, I'm really getting sick and tired of saying please, because of the fact that they don't seem to really care about what's going on. And you know, you have to give credit to our district, to the administrators and our teachers that are going forward with what we've been handed over years. And this is not just the few years you guys have been around. This has been around for a long time. And the districts that work really hard and do the best they can for their kids are the ones that are losing the money.
Right.
So it's like, you know, I'm doing good, one step forward, but here's 2 steps backwards. Because we're not giving you the money.
Right, and this is a topic
I
that
fought
unites
that for
all of us,
years.
right? Because the
Yeah.
teacher, you know, everybody gets something out of it if we get. our-
Exactly. If we start that chain and everybody else says, hey, Monroe got a little bit of attention, maybe we should do the same thing. And maybe Monroe can send them the template. I mean, I know the president of South Brunswick, maybe Lisa would like to see it. Maybe this one wants to see it. You live in Freehold. Let's get it out.
And that's been the discussion that we've had, right? We
We did.
want to be at the forefront of
That's right.
this. We want to make sure
Yes.
that it's coming from us, and before we started reaching out everywhere else and kind of banding together, we wanted us to be at the forefront.
We want to be top.
But now what's great also is they have the NJ, SBA.
Connections.
I don't know why words aren't coming today.
I
That's
just said that before I got hurt, it hurt too.
that's somewhere where like I've seen a lot of other board members and people from
Yeah.
other districts that are starting to post more, like, you know, there's been like some of like the policies that have come up that are hot topics and things like that, and someone had actually recently posted about school funding, and so
There you go.
should we, you know, present this and get this done, we can share our letter, which hopefully then would be a template for other
Yeah.
districts to ask for the formula.
And to be the forerunner of it, I think that's great.
Great.
Um,
Great, awesome.
Yeah,
So
we'll take a look at that and, I'll report out in November.
perfect. That actually ties in, so you had just mentioned our digital presence, right? So, we can skip down to on the agenda for the website and social media, updates. I know we have been very strong in our presence on social media, so,
Yes,
So-
we've made a lot of changes. So we've made a lot of changes. And working with our new athletic director, Mr. Barandika, working directly with myself and with, Mr. Moraldo was starting to look at, cleaning up the website, what works, what doesn't work. Sprout Social was something that we had decided that we would go with. We now see that it is not what we need. It doesn't do what we need. So what is the name of the new company?
It's, ooh, it has a silly name, I know that.
Yes.
It,
You just mentioned it to me.
oh,
So many.
See, we're all
something
having
with
the
a J,
same
whereas
problem.
Mr. Van Dijk is probably running outside,
He's
but
not well today.
I can describe it. Essentially, you've probably seen it, what it has done, and this is, it allows us to push out content in real time, and anytime you've seen,
Like the score update?
yeah, anytime you've seen update, and it's actually, it's commonly used, throughout all levels of, scholastic, athletics. And what it's going to do, and we're exploring ways to operationalize this as part of the build out of some of our workplace learning programs. We're trying to create positions, for sports marketing interns and things like that. It's
students
engaging
directly.
our student managers, our athletic managers, and our coaches, to connect more with the public and in a way that's centralizing our content. And then eventually leading to some opportunity for broadcasting, which we're also looking at.
So what we're trying to do is when it goes out on all of them, similar to what we thought Sprout Social would do, but for whatever reason, they preferred this particular, I'm gonna say format. I'm not sure. the
It's
word.
more, basically what it does is it's media rich, and like, for example, sometimes we use Canva or something like that to design, whereas now we can upload our theming for the district, we can upload our logos, and each coach can upload content, and it all filters, through a central
And it's
nexus.
not just sports,
No, it's
Sorry, not just
precisely, yeah,
sports,
we
that's
just
gonna
got rid of.
performances.
You'll see us performing arts season,
Right.
revs up and things like that. But
So
with-
district events.
Yeah,
Oh,
what's
yes.
nice is that there's a choke point at administration, so we can monitor content and make sure that everything's
It's
appropriate.
actually very user-friendly. And then the other thing that we ask, because we know that it changes, that please, Facebook is not necessarily the correct information if it's not coming right from the district. Please go to the district website. The district website is what provides factual information, and there's a lot of other information out there that is false.
The district Facebook group, like Facebook page, the stuff that's coming from there is like if it's posted by the district on the district.
Well, just
page,
because it says Monroe Township doesn't mean.
No,
it's-
I mean, like the Monroe Township School District page, like.
It has to be our page, because there's many that have
And-
similar names that are
And
not
what
our
we've
pages.
done with
Yeah.
the new athletic Twitter
Very
handle, is those are now linked. So if anything that would be posted out of the Speaker's office will automatically post to our Facebook page. And then ultimately, the idea of this new program was we'd be handing over similar credentials to Mr. Snyder. So he could then
Correct.
distribute, performing arts information, and then, Ms. Russ, as she gears up for some of the,
Correct.
things that are going on in humanities and likewise.
Are people in like each school that have, or like something that they would be able to share?
Yes.
To that as well?
And that would be the idea, and that's what because currently what we have is, it's.
Miss Montgomery does one in the middle school, and then you have, Mr. Barron, yourself, Mr. Snyder does it at the high school, of course, Dr. Higgins has access, and at the elementary, we have Mr. Perez.
Mr. Perez, so what we're trying to do is create a system where the principals throughout the district can filter content to one location. Right now, we have a newsletter, and
We're changing that completely.
and what becomes challenging because it's published.
Mhm.
So we have to collect information, compile it together, and then Mr. Perez's office will then publish it.
And I do not proofread it, let me just make that statement.
Yeah, no, and again.
Nor will I.
Yeah, so basically what we do is each principal will submit what they call their good news bulletin, and then we collect it and try to curate it and produce it in a newsletter style format. What we're currently looking at, what this new software that we have
It's a
does,
real-time
is it will
document.
give each building access to push content to our
That
communication.
can be
software.
changed if there's an error, human error.
Yep,
So
and
if
that
there's a
way, like,
mistake,
if there's a
it
big
can be
change on Facebook, you go back and change it changes everywhere.
Which Brenda.
That's great.
The other thing we're doing, Mr. Moraldo and I have been working on this, we're also looking at, perhaps it's time to look at a new website. Our website is,
Antiquated.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
full
just,
wire.
it's also not user-friendly.
It isn't.
It's not user-friendly. I've been on it for years, 20 years, and navigating it is not user-friendly. So
No.
I went to a conference where I had an opportunity to look at one of them, which I brought back to you. The name is escaping me.
Mhm.
I sent it to you. Apogee was one of them.
Yeah,
Apogee
that's
was
right.
one of them. And we're looking, fiscally responsible, least cost, if any, how we could do it. So, we made a step in the right direction with pushing out to social media. And we really feel that, the Falcon newsletter was something that's way before me. I just changed the name to Falcon Talents, changed the mascot or the icon. But we need it to be in real time. Nowadays, everything should be in real time.
I think, our, I was gonna say our users, but our community, are going to the website for different reasons now than they used to, when we first constructed the website. And what we looked at is some larger regional school districts. I know we're not a regional school district, but our size and our sprawl kind of makes us akin to that. We have neighborhoods and stuff like that. So how they, and we've been looking at, how they do things and how a majority of the important content is being pushed out in real time. Social media is one mechanism to do that, but also we have Blackboard Connect, which is again, something that's pretty limited. It's great because we can get to people immediately.
But it's limited, you can't put pictures. like
Yeah,
my-
but you can see
can't put
like
pictures
even
of
when
any kind.
we try to, that would be a great opportunity to push out content. But what we're looking at as far as our newsletters and things like that would be to host it in a digital platform to where we could upload it, edit it, and there's better platforms. So that's gonna be one of the things we'll be looking at in the upcoming year.
Not to interrupt, are you going down to school boards convention?
Yes, yeah.
You gotta look there.
Well, that's actually, right.
That's where all your.
One of the reasons why I asked the
You
Sorolla
gotta
to
be
attend.
there, because you know all those vendors are gonna be there, and they're gonna wanna give it to
And
us.
some of them are wonderful. I mean, some of them are things
I
that we've
know.
seen before, and some of them we already utilize, and
And
some,
that's,
some we don't.
we already kind of have a little idea about what we're looking
Let me
for.
know
so
what you're
cover
looking
it.
for, I'll
Yep.
stand behind you, go.
Yeah.
So I think for me,
Yeah.
like as a parent,
Mhm.
one of the things, and obviously you don't want to take away a teacher's right to use the platform that they feel most comfortable on, but I know like, for me, I will go to like a teacher's website, but then a lot of times now, Google Classroom is being used a lot, but then sometimes there's another platform. So like, I don't know if there's a way to streamline all of that without taking away the teacher's right to use the platform they're most.
In general, I would say the elementaries use Google Classroom.
Mhm.
In the middle school, we use Google Classroom. We did allow during COVID, this actually came up, that's how I'm so familiar with it. We did allow, certain teachers were very comfortable with Teams, which is a Microsoft product, and in the high school, they use Schoology. So it's not a lot of platforms. We're fortunate for the most part. I would say that at the elementary level, Google's probably the main one that's
Most
utilized,
schools are,
Google
yeah.
Classrooms.
They tend to be a little more building based.
Yes.
About, that was, and I don't want to speak, this is something that Dr. Lehman, I know.
Yes, and Dr. Lehman.
They've had extensive talks with, the building principals about this because, for that exact reason.
Right.
And when we first went one-to-one at the high school, it was a big challenge
Yes,
for
because
us.
there was no Schoology.
No, and some teachers, I know, I used like a wiki page, I think, PB Works or something like that, I think that's what it was called.
Right.
And then some were, right, is that what it was, Mr. Mazzola, PB Works? And then it was, then you had, some were even using the school wires pages.
School wires.
Some are still even up there, I think.
Yeah, some of the school wires are
And what the
really.
feedback we were getting from the parents was, look, it's all great, the teachers are doing great stuff, but I can't remember all my login credentials, there's 100 different passwords, so the
Yeah.
high school then said, listen, it was like ripping off a Band-Aid, you all have to move over to Schoology, it was tough going at first. We did something similar with Google at the elementary school.
Mhm.
One of the things I know, as a parent, but also as the feedback I've gotten from the teachers is the parent, method of communication, so still might be Remind, I think.
Right, there's
there's,
Seesaw, there's Class
I use
Dojo.
Seesaw.
and that was one that I know sometimes parents have said to us, could we streamline it? But then that becomes sometimes teachers more.
Right.
It becomes a larger discussion, and then we tend to kick that back to the principals. to
As
see.
we should. I mean, as much as we want, I apologize.
that's okay, go ahead.
As much as we want to have continuity, which is important, we also want to have individuality.
Right.
So, and that's really important because, administratively, I have my style, Dr. Lehman has his style.
Right.
Mr. Marhold has it, I mean, so, and we all have different comfort levels. He's everybody has, some people love Excel,
Right.
some people love Word, some people, only want to use, they prefer to do a PowerPoint presentation.
Right, some people might want to do more pictures, where some might want to do more
Exactly.
messages.
Like, one of the things I don't like about Blackboard is I like to send out acknowledgements of holidays and so forth, and I try to find appropriate quotes, and I am a big picture person. I send an email to the entire staff every Friday for the weekend and every Monday for the week. Every
Especially on
single,
the phone, Blackboard's tough to read on.
and I do it for my phone, a lot of things for my phone, and that is good because I could do it as an all staff, and I do it through Microsoft, through Outlook. But when I do it to the parents, Ms. Zelinski, I'm sorry, you cannot send your pictures. I'm sorry, you cannot send your pictures. So, because it's a whole process. So I do agree that there's pluses and minuses to everything. I do think though, for the most part, and I mean, we're having a leadership meeting next week, so perhaps we'll have this conversation, just do a survey and see how many schools utilize only Google Classroom, how many schools utilize something else. I know in the middle school, it was all Google Classroom, and then the elective teachers, cycle teachers, the industrial arts and computers and everything, they asked if they could use Teams.
And that was because they were teaching teams, I think, too. So like part of their curriculum, I know you're talking about sixth grade.
Yes.
Yeah, so they teach part of video conferencing as part of the curriculum, so that's why we discuss it. I'd be curious to survey, now that you brought it up, about how we're talking.
Right,
whether it's through Spond or Dojo.
yeah,
or CISA.
I mean, right now.
What was the original one, before they all came out, there was one way before all of
I
them.
mean, there was Remind.
I think
Remind, thank you.
Remind us.
But
like,
Dojo's been around.
Right, that's fun.
Well,
because
it's
you can
like
give like the
MySpace.
emojis if you like
People
it.
don't know what MySpace is, at one
Right.
time,
Mhm.
MySpace was
Oh,
everything.
I remember
Right,
that.
like, I mean, right now, we have,
So-
Seesaw, which I,
I
my
love
son's
Seesaw.
teacher's using that, and I love it, like, we're getting updates and pictures, and it's great, you know, and then, like, with my daughter, we've got something else, you know, she's at
But
middle
those-
school, and I understand, like, because like we said, everyone's gonna have what they
But
like.
also, those types of apps aren't where aren't gonna be your central hub for
Right.
information. That's
Well-
gonna be like, this is what we did today, and we're gonna share pictures and things like that, whereas a general website is-
Yeah.
or the Google Classroom is gonna be, you know, here's our classwork setting, here's all of our headings where you can find.
And
you
So
know,
if you,
Where-
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think since we're talking about potential overhaul to the website, this might not even be an issue, but I think maybe one thing that could be helpful, you know, I know Google Classroom just because of
Mhm.
what I've done, et cetera, but maybe making sure that there's a link to the Google Classroom on the teacher's website. But at the same time, they may not want that because then there's a code and you might not want everyone to have access to
I
the
mean,
code.
I do think that's
So-
true, because I remember that, once again,
What-
during the time that we were remote, that was a big thing about
Right.
the links.
Right, I just know like parents had reached out to me, oh, there's nothing on so-and-so's teacher website, and then
And there's-
eventually.
And there's really,
But-
there really is no requirement.
That
You
was
have
kind of
some
why we
teachers
like-
that still pick up the phone. I think they're fabulous. They still pick up that phone and they still have that conversation, and that is what they prefer. And I don't know, do we want to say, no, you can't do that? I mean, that's a wonderful
My
thing.
daughter
That's-
calls parents.
That's
Yeah, like,
fantastic.
I think the
That's
autonomy
fantastic.
behind
Can I
it
ask,
still needs.
being naive, why can't you use Google Chrome across the whole
Well,
district?
because you can't, well, at high school, they use Schoology.
Is it not geared for high school?
Well, what happens is in the high school, because they went to, a format that was, equal across all grades and all content, they use Schoology for turning in of work, everything, like the Schoology is their, platform.
Their lifeline.
Call it learning
Their
management
platform.
system.
Okay,
Yes,
so
they
you
do.
can't put Google
There- and so
Classroom
we have-
across
I have
the district.
And this is
That would
where
be
Dr.
uniform.
Higgins would give a better answer than me.
Yes.
But I was a part of the original, what they call the Vanguard Committee when the iPads came out. And COVID exposed a lot of the flaws in what we believed in the Google usage.
Okay.
Particularly when it came to video conferencing, you know, we had issues with security and all that stuff.
Mhm.
We lived that, situation when we were
No,
locked down.
we don't want to relive.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was, so we settled on that, but to reference what you were saying as far as teachers being able to, or parents or whomever being able to find the content. We found that Schoology, by standardizing use of Schoology, one, it integrated with the hardware that we're using. And it was most similar to, it was more similar to learning management systems that were being offered, like Canvas.
Which
as
the
opposed to-
children are going to utilize when they get to college.
And
That's what they utilize.
because we were one-to-one and the expectation of our staff was to utilize the iPad as an instructional tool, not as a replacement, but as a tool, but also really the software and how you interact with the content. And Schoology just was able to offer more
Okay.
as far as gradebook management,
Mhm.
being able to do everything from creating private feedback that could synchronize to parents directly or just kids, so it maintained.
And it works very nicely on an iPad, so I'm a
Right.
big user of the phone, and when I send out emails and messages, it doesn't look the same on the phone as it does on the computer, whereas Schoology is made, I say made for, but
And if I remember correctly, and
The
this is
iPad.
where I would need, Mr. Feldman, and I'm not gonna put John on the spot. It was,
all I know.
there are some security things we like about Schoology,
Mhm.
I think, and it was, particularly when it comes to content,
Okay.
also teacher-created content, things.
I did.
Schoology, something that can be used K to 12, I've never seen
It
it.
definitely
so-
can be utilized, I can speak to the middle school,
Okay.
because it was something that was brought to my attention as a principal, that, would we be willing, and of course, we pilot everything, so why not? So it is a conversation that we've had as far as that, I cannot speak on the elementary, I know that, Dr. Lehman isn't here, so the elementary I wouldn't be able to speak on.
I would wonder if it would be a little bit of
I
overkill,
was gonna say,
unless we were like
yes.
one-to-one.
Right, I could see in the middle school, even without a one-to-one, I could see it having its advantages. But Teams has its advantages, and most people don't use it, most
We-
people use
we
Google
introduced
Classroom.
Yeah.
Schoology, we began to, one of the things we talked about doing, especially in the electives and through the personal finance mandate, is using that as an opportunity to introduce Schoology to our middle school kid, just so they don't see it for the first time when they come to
Right.
high school. But, the teachers don't, outside of them being one-to-one, Google, because they'd be jumping on multiple platforms, devices, whether they're at work or at home, the Google is just so universally adaptable.
Right.
Right.
And everybody uses
I know my
it.
daughter uses it.
And we're all, our district has our official Google credentials for all of our staff, so they
Yeah.
don't use their personal account.
She took classes at,
Yeah, they
Google
do.
Master,
Yes.
whatever that.
There's a
is.
lot of amazing resources. Like I know Canva has a free, you can get a professional membership for educators for free.
Canva,
Canva, yeah. I'll send you a list of all.
I like it.
I also just wanted,
That's for self-checks.
I'll look up which one is good for my children when they're over.
probably none of them. They're
For
like-
one of my
but,
grandchildren when they're over. Appreciate it, but,
There's free versions of Canva that they can.
and it's CANVA?
Yeah.
It's a really great thing because you can create different images. and
I can
stuff.
tell my kids.
Maybe there'll be a
probably
workshop
know
on
it.
it.
Probably not.
Yes.
Maybe there'll be a workshop on it.
Oh, so to bring it all back, the long-term goal would be to overhaul the website, but the short-term and immediate response, as if you could barely notice it, but one of the things that you'll notice is that we've been trying to strip down the website. So I've been, along with the team,
With
we've been
the tabs
removing.
on the side.
We've been removing things, like there's some stuff we're trying to keep up there and some stuff I won't remove until I speak with Ms. Allen.
Right.
But, we've also been trying to, like, if you go under, some of the curriculum pages, we're updating content slowly but surely. I'm not overcommitting right now because there is a good chance we may strip it down.
Mhm.
But any new communication or hub for information, we're taking a look at those individual pages just because the content's not gonna go away.
Right.
But, our goal would be to build a website that would be one-stop shopping for any document you would need,
Mhm.
any link you would need, some media that you could find, archived information and your access point.
Yep.
And then the real-time content we'll continue to look at using our social media, but also our direct connect,
Mhm.
whether it's Blackboard or whatever. Listen, Blackboard's great because it's efficient and it's super user-friendly, and then we can communicate with each other as a leadership team and get stuff out immediately,
Mhm.
whether it's emergencies.
Very, very quick. Snow.
It's a little limited what we can do creatively, but.
It's
you know,
not creative.
Yeah.
We
Right.
don't, we don't
In
need.
an emergency kind of situation, you just want to get information out there.
So
And,
just,
and just like last thing
Yeah, go
about
for it.
that, because I know there's been some questions about, the broadcast servers and everything like that. One of the things we're looking at doing is really operationalizing our YouTube channel. So we created a new program this year at the high school, and we have new, through our work-based learning program, new production intern. And we're really hoping to start engaging our community through live streaming, but not just live, some of the broadcasting, whether it's athletic, performing arts, but even special events at the school, and not just things limited to the school, community-based events. So part of the things that these interns will be doing, it would be if there's something interesting happening in the community, whether it's student-related or professionally related or just a community event. So we want to start really leveraging our production team and the technology that's evolved so nicely, but also as a way to get in touch with the public in real time.
Yep.
And the technology makes things so easy. We know everyone has a device, so we can get to our students and their parents very easily now. And there are ways we can connect that through widgets and other things. So that's what we'll be looking down at school board specifically. And that was really the charge that Dr. Chanley gave me when she
Good,
came with the idea.
that's the best place to get.
So next
So-
month's meeting on the agenda is going to be a
for you to work.
update of workshop, because unfortunately I have conferences that week, so I'm not able to go.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. We could take a look at some of the things that we think would fit
We did that
together.
last year too.
Updated workshops, yeah, I pulled my list.
Workshops from the workshop.
Yeah, I know, there's quite a few I want to, but
Yeah.
some of them are all together at the same time.
Yeah, they do that. I don't know why they do that. I noticed that.
I noticed.
I did, yeah, and it was interesting, because a lot of the tech ones kind of ran at the same time.
It makes no
Yeah.
sense. You would
Well-
have a better flow.
Right,
If
like
you
you could
would've
pick
read-
a different, like.
Yeah, but they had a
like,
section.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you
which-
went in there and you wanted credits, like a school board member,
Yeah.
you would hit this and it would list
Yeah.
those. For tech, you would list it and it listed those, so it broke it down when you asked it what you wanted.
Well, there was the website one ran at the same time at communications.
Right,
And so I think some of them repeat though, so.
Well, they repeat, they
Yeah.
come at
Right.
10 and they come at 12.
Yeah.
it's almost like when I used to go to the music teachers conference, you could
Mhm.
pick a certain specialty, right? So if you were elementary music, you
Yeah.
would follow this, and there still might be sessions that overlap, but I
You had more
would
of a
love
path to
to,
follow
right,
it.
Yeah,
but at the same time, as a board member, you want to be vested and look for, even administration, like,
Well,
know
it
about
gave
different
you-
things,
it
so.
gave you a whole list of things that a board member can get credits for.
Right.
So.
Really quick, just to sort of tie into this, with social media, and I know there's been a phenomenal amount of, like, information and like events shared. One thing that I really liked last year, and I think you were actually the one who was doing it, was like, there was that weekly calendar. Is that something that had to be stopped for a specific reason, or is it just because things have,
No,
there's so
that's,
much in
I
the fall, I
think
wasn't sure.
that is being produced by the athletic office. My guess, because I know it's like an
Well,
email.
that's a weekly schedule, but I think you're talking about all the other schedules, that's done, it's my understanding that that whole calendar, is that what you're talking about?
No, I was generating a graphic,
Right, there was a,
but that's something that the new software could do.
right, on the district Facebook page, it was, right, Mr. Roller was putting like the weekly events for the,
It was a
I thought it
terrible
was so,
PowerPoint,
well, I thought it was so great, because like, if there was junior varsity soccer and you could go, like, it had the time and the event, and then if there was an art show at night, it had that there,
I
so
wonder
like,
if we could push out, Ms. Casamassino's
Well,
email
that's what I
that
was
we get.
referring to. So that's something that would be onboarded into that new app that.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up, during break to see the name of it.
I can look
You
it up.
sent it to me.
I typed in really quick in Google social media, nothing with a G
Yeah.
came up, but,
That's a good idea. I love that.
But that's, again, that would be, we're just not there yet.
Right.
But that would be when we, so the idea would be to give, what's cool about that app is
Access.
multiple, staff at our credentials. My guess is that Mr. Barron, the secretary, would be one of those people.
right.
And then, when, she sends out, because she sends it out to the entire district, I guess the staff is probably just getting it. And, to alert us, that's something that can easily be put out to the public.
Okay, yeah, I just love, because for the people that maybe don't get, like, you're not a parent or a staff member,
Right.
but you want to know what events are going on, like, it was, like, I remember there was a lot of accolades for it, like, it was just, I really enjoyed personally seeing it. The other thing, was the
Gipper,
What is it?
Gipper.
Yeah, that's what it is.
the library, and I think I might have brought this up like early last year, they had this website, which is actually an app, Burbio, so I pulled it up, I didn't know if, just because like our stuff is all on here, I wasn't sure, I think it's just like, what is it called, an aggregate of the calendars, but it had like each school on there as well, so I didn't know if
That would be
schools have
something
their
that you
own.
would, I think I remember you were saying kind of functions of like a widget inside the website. Yeah, I think that would be something very plausible, makes sense.
Right. I mean, it just seems like it pulls whatever information we have, like, in 10,000 other places, like there's different playhouses and libraries and stuff like that here. But, just because I see like it has each schools, and I didn't know if right now each school has their own calendar events. Like, I know some of the ones like I look at more, it's more all on the district calendar.
Because we asked them to share it out. I know that was a
Right.
function of Dr. Layton's office, because he brought it up last time.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that, that kind of speaks to our efforts to collect content. So, for example, if we produce something on social media, if we like send out, normally that's what we'll get to send out. And it's tough to go and shake down, a main office, like, hey, give us something to post on social media.
Right.
A lot of times, they'll send something over directly, sometimes it's even
And some
the
schools send
principal.
more than others.
Yeah, that's true. But it also, a lot of it has to do with, what's happening and who happened to be available and who, timing. And sometimes we'll get a lot of repetitive stuff. But there's really no rhyme or reason to what gets posted. We try to be as fair as we can.
But it's much better, I will say,
And
between
it was
this
no-
year and last year.
Yeah, I
social
mean, it's
media
no
presence is much
coincidence
better.
when I was in my former role, it was all music, wrestling. Actually, my wife used to yell, she's like, everything's music, wrestling, and robotics. And I said, well, listen, that's. And then there was, but then obviously, and then one of the things we talked about is we actually set up a shared site. So the principals now are uploading, stuff on the Google Drive, and then they'll actually give you a caption.
Yeah.
And then we'll go through it, and, you can see, like, sometimes it'll get a little more heavy on Thursday.
Right.
Or when there's an event. I know that Woodland just sent me something, they're gonna be doing a really cool Veterans Day, activity.
My
in
son was
December.
very excited about it when he came home today.
So we're getting ready to start talking about that, because that's gonna be here, and then I know there's gonna be a ton of Halloween stuff. I do feel bad, I know that the library sent me stuff, and they wanted me to put it out there across the street, and we try to get it out, but we need to, definitely improve the standardization. We do schedule sometimes posts, but then, like, for example, if, Dr. Chandler needs to put out something important, I don't wanna pop a post out right after that, because then with social media, it might get lost in the mix or something like that. The idea, though, would be to start to integrate more, of our staff and students into kind of the functioning of our social media.
Right.
We've been working with, some of the managers already. I know, I can't think of her name. I don't want to say the wrong name, but the soccer manager, she's a junior and she's absolutely wickedly talented and she's been producing some content for us under, the supervision of the
children.
coaches.
Really have the greatest talent.
Yeah, and they have the better
Oh,
knowledge
they
of what's
do.
happening, so
100%.
that we would hope to continue to work with, and
And
Mr.
through the
Van Beek
work-based
and I
learning
are
as
talking
well.
about through the work-based learning office, is turning some of these varsity teams have managers that work with them that could be going into sports management next year, and they should. And they are
You get a
terrific.
scholarship at
Yeah,
college.
and we would like to start using them to help us.
Yeah.
And what's great is that they work with JV freshmen, it's not just,
Yeah.
the big time, so.
Not to take up time, can I ask, do you have a timeline set in your head about when you think all of this will come together, or?
Well, I know that Dr. Chantley.
I'm always
Yep.
wanting to know when.
Yeah, no,
That's
that's,
interesting.
that was
Yeah.
one of the goals that we had for this year when we sat down is to,
So by
improve
when?
substantially.
Well, we've already improved substantially, but it probably will take us at least the remainder of this year to really, because you have to go through the entire website and see.
I
what
would say this, we're gonna continue to improve the website as we
Continuously.
go.
Yes.
But I have to get an idea about, and I'm gonna have to talk with the tech staff, also what's even feasible. But my guess is that if we were gonna do an overhaul, it would have to be on the back end of the school year.
Mhm.
And we wouldn't have to be, we'd have to be able to really, it would take a transition time. We want to do anything that would interfere with communications or anything like that.
It would have to be over
Over
some.
summer.
I would have to, also, there's gonna be a budgetary
I was just gonna say, what is the cost of
examination,
making the
because,
changes?
and not even so much for the tech and I'm deliberately not looking over at John, because he's gonna make me look feel like an idiot. But, the development alone is gonna be costly. Certainly, I don't want to speak for any of you guys, no one at this table could do it. I don't know what, the expertise of our tech staff, or, that's not necessarily what.
Would we turn it over to a company?
Yeah, our tech staff's here to serve
And then
students
they
and
reach the
staff,
whole thing.
so it would be, and my guess is that we would want to start from scratch.
Offer it to staff you have and the students, and then if it's not feasible, then you might have to
I
go
am
out.
working with a student intern right now that's helping me.
Right,
get
so you
things out.
offer it to them and some staff that are into it, like John sitting over here. And, and you said students, because, my grandchildren can maneuver their iPads better than I
Yep,
can.
and that's the other thing, is we have to have something that reads, particularly because of the diversity in our community, and that
Right.
was one of the reasons, and in our referendum survey, we started sampling a little bit about how our community gets content. We would need something that could work on, laptops, tablets, and devices. And also, I would probably recommend doing a little more recon into the community to see what type
Yes,
of
yeah.
platforms they're comfortable with before we made a commitment, and that would, probably, we've done 6 to 8 months of planning. But I would say it would be fair to try to produce something by the beginning of next school year. I don't want to
Yeah.
overcommit, but I think that would be.
No, that's good, I just wanted, I think that's fair.
It's a big
and-
project. It could take, and if it has financial implications, approval from
Well,
the
that's
board,
right.
and so forth, then you're talking about putting it in the budget cycle, so it could want to
Right.
be 2 years because of the way our budget cycle works. Yeah.
Well, well, the 1 year I like better than the 2, but, I mean, it's good that you're gonna, do it and do it right.
Mhm.
So, no matter how long it takes, just do it, get it right.
And
And it has
this-
to change.
And I don't even know any, and this is where my naivety shines. There's got to be security implications
Oh,
and all that other
beyond.
stuff.
Yeah.
And they have to be able to talk to our
Yeah.
all of the stuff that, again, I'm
All
gonna
that code.
sound
stuff.
foolish, so I'm
all
gonna
that
shut down.
tech
And I
stuff.
need another,
Right, stuff better
another password to add to the 32 one I have here, because they say, you used that in the last 2 months. Oh, I can't think of it.
Well, and that is a big deal here.
It is.
In
And,
education.
and anywhere,
Two-factor authorization and.
Yeah,
Talk about
authorization.
student information and
Authentication, that's
privacy.
a two-factor
Yeah.
authentication.
And that's something that we obviously can't take lightly. And that would be-
No,
No,
should not.
no
And Mrs.
way.
Feldman does an incredible job, especially, with what we've dealt with in the past, as well as the rest of the staff.
Sounds good.
That's very exciting, so more to come.
Yeah.
Everybody keep their eyes open for the website and all the, I've already noticed some changes, so.
I have
just
too,
to Everybody.
yeah.
who's
Yeah,
been working on it.
and I will say that it is great because we try to do all these things in addition to, all of the tech support staff, their primary objective is to serve the staff and students. And all the other stuff we do, and they're usually pretty good. I will say this, if you Google top public school district websites, I'll take any suggestions or any ideas from anyone. There are some really cool things out there, creative things. Some are a little more crazy than others, but, they're very different. And, I'd be curious to see what, the community should weigh in on this and how they like to
Yeah.
consume content.
Sounds good.
And, I like some a little more than others, but we'll have to take a look.
All right, great. We have two items left on the agenda, the Citizens Advisory Committee and then the legislative updates. Do we have a preference on what we would like to talk about first?
Let's do citizens advisory.
Okay.
I think really the Citizen Advisory Committee, before we do anything with that, and once again, back to Mr. Geraldo, we probably need to do a survey. We probably need to do a survey, what exactly does it mean? How do people want to interact? Do people want, if they wanted to volunteer? I mean, it shouldn't be the creation of an ad hoc committee, because that would not be the purpose. What would be, you're the chair, so what do you envision the
Well,
purpose of the
this is
city?
a conversation that Kate and Gail and I have had for a few months
So
now.
I think like the purpose of this wasn't necessarily to put a recommendation out this month for something to be created, but just to sort of look
Start a
at
discussion on.
what, because honestly, this first came up in like the spring when I think there was just that mandatory revision, which made me like aware that there was a policy about a citizens advisory committee, which just says it might be useful in keeping board and administration informed.
But what is it?
So,
Because
then-
we already go
right.
to 6 committees.
Right, well, so this would be a committee of members of the community who are able and interested in the subject, concerned about the schools, members who represent a wide range of community interests, a chairperson, one or more board members, and school staff members. And so like, basically, what I think is great about this is that I know that there are, a lot of board members who are on multiple committees, right? And there's such a time commitment. This is really more focused on getting the voice of the community. And so then what I did once I saw this is I just looked up like sort of what other districts have, just to get an idea, because a lot of them handle it in different ways. So like, where's this one? There's the, I can't find it. Winslow Township, which isn't near us, but they had some really great information on their website. And basically what they do is it's a committee that's formed by the board for the purpose of seeking advice, recommendations, and providing widespread involvement. The Citizens Advisory Committee is comprised of community members appointed by the board to serve for a term of 1 year with an option to renew granted by the board. And then the selection process occurs between October 1st and November 30th, and any interested community members 18 years and older can submit an application. And it sort of is a very like broad span of what topics, which is like one way, but then there's other districts. So like South Brunswick just
Yeah, I
had
was gonna say, they just did,
a budget advisory
Yep.
committee, which was 40 different community members. And that was
So it is an ad
specifically-
hoc committee.
Right, I guess in that essence, yeah, I'm not sure, like, it's an additional committee that is through the Board of Education, which is sort of like what the policy suggests, but I think there's a lot of leeway on how you want it, because like what they did is they focused strictly on, here are our budgetary
Right.
issues, what types of things would you rather see? Would you rather see us have, because they already have, I think, pay to play, like where they pay for activities. Would you rather see that increased, or would you rather see certain activities cut? Would you rather see courtesy busing cut, or would you
But
rather
who's
see
the they?
things like that? This is
South
Brunswick.
Brunswick.
No, who's the they? So for
So-
example, so if you have 6 people that want to come and give their opinion,
Right.
but you have other people that have an opinion and they pay taxes too, but they don't come. So does that mean our decisions are made based upon the 6 people that come?
So the committee, my interpretation and understanding of the committee is it's created of members of the community who are able to reach a larger population of the community. So anybody who might say,
What happens if someone runs a Facebook page?
Well, so it's just
I don't know if I-
the members are
it wouldn't
chosen
necessarily
by,
have to be us, they still get appointed by us, but you
Right.
want to try to identify like key stakeholders in the community who may be interested in being appointed to this type of committee, who will then go back to their communities and get feedback on, a given topic.
for example, of the Little League, your Little League coaches, your different sports, your minor sports that are around the town, they all have somebody that's in charge of it. And, I mean, my husband was asked to be on one for a referendum years ago because he knew somebody from every sport
So
in
it's
town.
basically ad hoc.
So, yeah, he was asked by the superintendent to be part of this committee to help push the referendum to all those different sports things. And there was somebody else then that did, we had theater arts. Then there was somebody that went to all those people. So you've got to pick, you've got to go after those type of people. The seniors, the
Right.
senior center, one from each one.
So,
That maybe
And
that's
how
on
does,
there.
how does this get approved?
So I mean, again, there's leeway, but from what, like, I've seen in others, like, this is West Windsor's, where they have an opportunity to be part of the overall program. The advisory council discusses different issues regarding the district, the Board of Education, community education, including extended day program. And then like, Barnegat, which I really like, they had it where they had several different members, and they made sure there were at least 2 members of the community that do not have children in the district, but still have a vested interest in what is happening. It's because what you want to do is the members are chosen by the Board of Education. So what they did is anyone who's interested submits a letter of interest. And then like the South Brunswick committee, they had at those meetings, because they were actually recorded, like the board, like the superintendent was there, some of the finance administration. This was a bigger committee. There were 40 members of the committee as well. And it was just people with all different interests, right? Because that's what you want to get. You don't want to have everybody who has the same opinion. You want to hear, you know, people who like coffee versus people who like tea, you know? And so then like what they did is they were another one, Barnegat, where they cover a wide range of issues. They discuss configuration of the school district and, you know, different things regarding like consistency between the different schools, and mentioned something with transportation. So ultimately, I just thought it might be, like, not that this is something we should start doing right now today, just the idea of if this is something we wanted to do, because, you know, ultimately we have a very, you know, vested, you know, public that's very vested in the school district. And we want to, you know, we've all said we want to hear what they have to say. This might be a way that, you know, in addition to things like public forum or sending emails, it's more of a conversation back and forth, almost like a committee meeting, but also includes people who are appointed to be here as members of the public. And then it's a matter of how many we would want, what the topic would be. Would it be a broad scope? Would it be one specific thing?
I would say broad scope, especially referendum time and budget time. That way you're getting every faction of this town involved in that committee. And if you want to pass a referendum, that's who you have to get that person to go back to that group, to that group, to that group. And you're hitting every group in this town. So we have to figure out what kind of groups we have in this town that we need representation from. So it's going to take a while for us to decide what we want this committee to look like.
Is this something that gets voted on by the board to even decide if you do it? I'm not familiar at all. This is all new to me. I've never heard about that.
So just looking at the policy, I believe that the board, it could be a recommendation or it could be.
It was a
upon
board
appointment from-
policy.
Right, so it's a policy that you can have it, you're not mandated to have it, but I think it would be up to either the board president, if she wanted to automatically create it, or it would be a recommendation majority of the board to create the committee.
So I guess this is something that you'd have to bring up again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
It was just
probably.
more about discussing like what other districts are doing, if this was something we wanted to go, like I know we're putting the budget out. So
Right.
that might be something that we want to, you know, hear from members who might be interested, like
Right,
sort of what South Brunswick had done last year. And like I think there were 3 or 4 meetings they had that were recorded. And like, you know, listen, it might.
Yeah, I don't think that meeting's a lot.
No, the budgetary, like the committee, the citizens committee that they had for the budget, they had those recorded, and those are actually, I think, still on their district website.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's under their advocacy page, like their budget page, because they've been doing, because of S2, they're losing a lot of funding. So
Right.
they have a lot of attention right now on this matter, and so I think that they have these issues, like, or these meetings on their Facebook, on their website, which I don't know if it's right on the homepage or if you click on their budget information page, but they're, like, it was interesting. I watched one of them and I found it really interesting to hear the different things coming out from some of the community members.
and we have a lot of community members that have a lot of smarts, especially when I was out, you know, running, talking to different people. Boy, oh boy, they really, you know, it would be great to hear them here on a committee to help us decide. I mean, it's something to think about.
Okay, so it's definitely something that we can continue to discuss, maybe
Yeah.
bring up next month, and hopefully Ms. Carew will be able to join us, and then we can, you know,
Yeah.
take it from there. Really quickly, we only have about 5 minutes left, but the last item on our agenda was the NJSBA legislative updates. I have here last week, Ms. DePayne, Ms. Ratner, myself. I'm not sure if anybody else is on there. I don't think so. But we attended the Middlesex County, New Jersey School Board's, county meeting. Just a really quick governmental update. Does anybody have anything that they wanted to highlight? I mean, just,
But you have the slides.
yeah, I have the slide, so,
And I didn't pull his slides off, Mr.
yeah,
Young.
I printed
I
them.
know, I didn't get to do it.
So I'll just really quickly run through, there were budget highlights, K to 12 formula aid, preschool aid, there was a $109 million increase, including 40 million for new districts. Teacher recruitment and retention, $20 million for new programs, academic recovery, over 55 million in funds for tutoring and literacy, which was something that we had talked about. Was that?
I just
Oh.
don't think it's actually threw me for a loop, I'm not sure why.
I was like, wait, was I not supposed to say
No,
that?
not really, no.
Let's see, there were 95 million for capital maintenance and emergent needs. They talked about some new education laws that have been put forth, waiving certification and credentialing fees for teachers for a year, extending flexibility to hire retired teachers for another year, extending the useful service life of certain school buses to 20 years, providing a temporary extension of service life for type S school buses, a couple of student health laws. Let's see, there was an anti-bullying task force public testimony that occurred on October 4th. There were 3 State Board of Education meetings, July, August, and October. Let's see. Executive branch news, they talked about the passing of the lieutenant governor. There was the 2023 assessment results that on September 6th, the NJDOE announced that school districts can expect to receive their NJSLA results by September 12th. It's already October. Districts have until November to present the results to the BOE.
We're doing that after reading.
And then looking ahead, the election are November 7th, so the assembly will kind of be in a lame duck session from November to January. The December 30th is the deadline for the legislature to pass bills. January 8th, the legislature must convene to consider any governor vetoes from the end of the session. And then January 9th, 2024 is the reorganization of the legislative session. So I think that was,
Well,
Everything in a
yeah,
nutshell.
basically that committee, that meeting, I was the one that suggested it also, that, the meeting be around questions that board members have about what their role is as a board member, that we might not be being answered.
Yeah.
And there was a lot,
To have like a Q&A.
the Q&A was there. Ray Kinney is very good from School Boards Association. He mentioned some things on there that I never knew as a board member. And I was told by the president of Middlesex County that Metuchen and Piscataway had a phenomenal way of telling their board members how to do things, which is giving them a booklet every time that there's any kind of changes, tenures, things like that. So when they go to the meeting, you don't have a million questions. You know, nobody should have a question. All board members should know everything, when it happens, if you can say it when it happens, you know, with attorney review or whatever. But all board members should not be kept in the dark for anything. And that was my main concern when I brought up the topic at one of our board meetings and they ran with it.
Yeah.
So I thought it was very interesting. I took a lot of notes myself because unfortunately I was homesick.
Right.
I come back from vacation and of course I enjoy myself and I get sick.
Just real quick, because I know we have a
What are the
minute.
being sick on?
Yeah, I know, it's true.
I had gotten in the mail, actually, I think it was on Sunday, I couldn't have been Sunday, I don't know, recently, I think I picked it out of the mail Sunday. They had the NJSBA Board of Directors meeting on the 22nd. Elliot Strum, who actually was a Jamesburg board member who resigned as a board member, had been the head committee member for the legislative committee for District 14, which is our district. And so they were able to appoint me as the now voting member of our
Oh, good.
legislative district
Oh, good.
for the legislative committee. So I have that meeting on this Saturday, on the 14th, from 9 to 12. And then also, and maybe I can explain a little bit more because I know we're almost out of time. They also had sent me a legislative advocacy action plan, which, you know, one of the things on there was talking about how to support local school board efforts to initiate grassroots citizen actions to reduce over-reliance on property taxes, which I was like highlighting, put in bold. But that's something that I'll definitely bring up and then report back in November.
Great.
And I just had one quick thing I wanted to mention too, which was brought up by Middlesex County, and I know state. Eventually, they're going to push for all voting to be out of schools.
We're already doing, we're already
Okay,
trying.
I know.
They're trying to.
So I'm just saying that eventually, because, I mean, even without voting in schools, you see what happens in schools.
Mhm.
So, it's going to be tough, because there was a couple of districts that said, we don't have anything but schools, but they're gonna have to find places
Yeah.
to hold voting at just, I'm just bringing it up.
Oh, no, we already had a.
I know, I remember it did, but it's just, you know, for everybody to know that if you're listening, the voting will be out of schools,
Good.
and for the safety of the kids.
They're trying to make it a statewide effort.
Yeah, they're trying to now to make a statewide effort.
And good that we're on the forefront of it. Like,
We are.
we're doing it.
We are, so,
All right, 7 o'clock on the dot.
thank you.
Good job. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.